How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Wolves Den. I'm your host Victor, and today I'm reviewing for you Underworld Blood Wars. Underworld Blood Wars was released this past Friday, January 6th, across the country. It is the 5th installment to the Underworld franchise, immediately after 2012's Underworld Awakening. Now, personally, I'm a big Underworld fan. I admit, Awakening was pretty damn disappointing. I was pretty hyped for this movie, but very cautious at the same time, because with what they did to the fourth movie, the potential of that was was official for what this fifth movie could be. So I was hyped because I'm a big fan, but I was cautious because they could have fucked it up again. It stars Kate Beckinsale and Theo James from the previous movie, and as always, she's kicking ass. She's powerful as hell. He's a little more of an ass kicker now too because of events from the fourth movie. And so, as usual though, the whole threat revolves around her. The whole story revolves around her. It gives a little more of a highlight to other things, but she's still the core feature. This one's basically about her still being on the run, the Lycans themselves, werewolves, for those who haven't seen any of the movies. They've regrouped. They have a new leader named Marius, who's supposed to be this new badass. They seem to have one every freaking movie. So he's got them all together, a nice big horde, so so they can finally try and win their aspect of the war. And the vampires feel threatened. Celine, Kate Beckinsale, always feels threatened. She's always on the run. She's on no side, even though she is a vampire. She's threatened by both the vampires and the Lycans. Still, ever since the first movie, she's still on the run. She gets recruited. Some stuff goes down, and it's pretty interesting. So the actual core of what the movie is about is pretty cool, involving that Marius as the main Lycan villain. With him being the big boss, what goes on involving him is really cool. There's some other subplot stuff that, if they were worked correctly, could potentially be very compelling to the grander scheme, because there's other stuff with the vampire clan, with some potential betrayals, that could happen. It just doesn't work well, honestly. I was curious to see where it was gonna go, and to me, it flopped on its own head. Kate Beckinsale as Celine is still as sexy as ever. Man, that woman is gorgeous. All the leather again. I missed it. As usual, Celine, she kicks ass, as always. She's, semi-unstoppable, but there's always like a little bit of a thing that can, that slows her down, that she has to overcome. We have the impression that because of the events of the second movie, she's still this unstoppable force. That's not the case. She's still an ass-kicking force, but she's not quite unstoppable anymore. Plot stuff happens that is easily predictable, where, once she gets, her ass kicked at one point, you're like, okay, she's gonna make a comeback. So, she goes through a character development, actually. It's the fifth movie, and she goes through a character development, which, as far as Celine was concerned, I kind of appreciated, just because it finally added a little more depth. I love her character to begin with, but the franchise just needed a little bit of a something. To get away from the characters and to focus on just the basic of the movie, there was a lot of logical stuff, or lack thereof, that a buddy of mine who I saw it with, me and him were cracking the hell up throughout the movie. Just because some of the stuff that was either said or explained or whatever was very stupid. It was very stupid. But it was so hilarious how stupid it was. There was one point where Celine, and Theo James's character, I forgot what his character's name was already, but the two of them walk in the sun. And anybody who's a fan of the franchise understands why, already knows why. So that wasn't a surprise to us as the viewers. Vampires see that happen and, see that they don't, freaking explode from the sunlight. And they're like, oh, they're able to walk in the sun. They must be coercing with the Lycans. The fuck kind of logic was that? And me and him looked at each other like, are you fucking kidding me? it was so stupid. Like that's what I mean. The lack of logic. You know, it was just that. It was just the immediate assumption of like, oh, it must be this because of this. There wasn't anything behind it. This movie, it's not too good of a movie. It is an improvement from Awakening, I will admit. When you compare it to Awakening, with how much shit that was, it is a big improvement. But it is still nowhere near as good as the first three movies. There's a lot of dumb that goes on, a lot of accidental funny, which, I mean, better accidental funny than, you know, not having fun with a movie. And that's why I did enjoy it, because despite some of the lack of logic, despite some of the accidental hilariousness, I had a lot of fun with it. It still needs a lot of work. There's only honestly one thing about this movie that legitimately pissed me off. There was some other stuff that was pretty irritating, but there's only one thing that actually made me mad, and that was the lichens themselves when they're actually in werewolf form. It was 100% CG creatures. They completely went from every single lichen in the movie. They completely went away from the practical effects. There was none. There was not a costume. There was not an animatronic. Nothing. They were all CG, and it was obvious. It was such a saturation of CG all over the screen that for someone like me, I'm a big fan of practical effects, and then to use CG as, you know, an enhancing tool. It was just, to me, it was really ugly for the obviousness. It wasn't like you were watching Avatar. It was really obvious, and it was just kind of annoying. And it looks like there's going to be a sixth movie. I had the impression that this was going to be the last one, but I was wrong. I'm being that I'm an Underworld fan, I'm glad. I mean, I can see Kate Beckinsale in leather one more time, at least one more time. But it looks like they're going to do a sixth movie. I do recommend seeing this if you're a fan of the series. If you're just a regular, you know, viewer who has never seen any of these movies, I suggest watching the rest of the franchise first. You probably wouldn't have fun since you wouldn't know what's going on. But if you're like me and you enjoy the whole franchise as a whole, while admitting Awakening sucks, it's worth it then, just because it is the next installment. In the end, I think I got to give this movie a C+. It's got a lot of stupidity going on that could have used a lot of work during the creation of this movie, but it was still a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. You know, I was able to overlook those things as far as getting pissed off at the movie. You know, me and my buddy talked about it. We both like acknowledged all the same stuff that was wrong with the movie, but we still had fun with it. Was the key point. And because it was a fun movie, I think it earns the C+. Check it out if you are a fan of the franchise. If you're not a fan of the franchise, watch the other movies and eventually watch this at some point. If they do make a sixth movie, hopefully they make it even better than this one, because they were going in the right direction. There's just some stuff that needed some work. So, but yeah, check it out. Honestly, it's worth it if you're a fan. So thumbs up this video if you've seen the movie and like it. If you're gonna see it, if you're not gonna see it, hell, give it a thumbs up then. Comment what you think of the franchise as a whole. Which movie is your favorite? What do you think of Kate Beckinsale and all that leather? Oh God, she's gorgeous. Comment things you like about the franchise, what you don't like about the franchise. Comment how you think it should be from here on in the future, assuming they make a sixth movie. Subscribe to the channel, join my wolf pack, enter my den. You guys are more than welcome. I'd appreciate it. Until the next thing I put up, you guys take it easy.